Hey there. All right, we're back for day 2 of Intuitive Branding, my mini series. So, how is your brand world coming? How is it going? Just pulling images and tuning into the energy of your brand? I'd love to know. So, please feel free to respond to the email or shoot me a message. Today is going to be much shorter. The rest of these will probably be much shorter than the first day. So, hopefully, this will be really digestible and just easy for you to take in and use immediately. So the next phase in building your brand world out, and this kind of goes hand in hand with pulling the imagery and getting inspired from all the spaces. But I like to think of it as a fully intentional step that can kind of help inform how you make decisions and how you select what you're selecting. So, and how you just kind of like put it all together. So I call this your brand attributes. So the brand attributes are essentially, well, they're basically just verbal articulations of your brand. So the words and language that you use to describe the work that you offer, the services you offer, products that you offer, but also what is the how would people explain their work with you? How would people explain? So say you are, again, since I work with a lot of wellness practitioners, say you have a wellness practice or say you have a yoga studio. And so what would you, how would people describe, what would the language be used by people who leave a yoga class? What would it sound like coming from your client, your user, consumer, whatever you want to call them? How would they talk about you? So I think it's really important for you to list out how you want to be perceived and the kind of energy you want to share with others, as well as have the other perspective of how people would speak about working with you. Give yourself kind of like a well-rounded list. So what I do here is really just, I would set a timer I would probably chunk this out into 2 to 3 sessions, but I would set a timer for about like 15 to 20 minutes, depending on your attention span and whatever. Choose a time that feels good for you to just like get comfortable, envision your work, like sit in the energy of your brand, what you want to offer, all of those things. Maybe look at the images that you've pulled so far and just like allow some words to flow out. Just flow out. Don't judge them. Just type them all out or write them all down. And then I would pause and then on another session, set the timer again and come back and look at them. And then I would start parsing out like, what is this? What feels good here? What doesn't feel good here? What could be nuanced? Maybe looking at, synonyms, typing in the word into doing a quick Google and see what comes up there. Kind of allow an expansion and expansiveness around this stage. I don't have an image for this handy right now, but I'll probably share this in some part of this series. But the concept of the creative process, you may have seen this before, and I know I've posted it before, but step 1 is like you're excited. It's basically a trajectory of feeling really excited about an idea and getting inspired. And then when you are working with it and getting into the nitty-gritty, things start to fall apart and feel really bad. And you feel like whatever you're creating is terrible. And then you kind of come out of it again if you stick with it and kind of allow all the things. So this process of building your brand is similar. And it's like this every time I work with a client too. So, coming from somebody who's done this for years, it happens to me as well. So don't be afraid or don't be alarmed if you feel like you get into some really amorphous or, conceptual places that are too maybe airy and not grounded and you're having a hard time articulating. All of that's totally fine. Like allow yourself to go there and do your best to navigate. An exercise that can be helpful as you're doing these is as you're, discerning and building your brand attributes or landing on them, is to share it with somebody that knows about your work. So connect with a friend and reflect back, ask them to hold space for you and share what you're thinking of and see what they think. if you know your human design, and I'll just specifically talk about generators and manifesting generators, I'm a generator, so we are meant to respond. So actually writing a list out and seeing it, like again, taking that pause and coming back and looking at it and being able to notice in your body, is this right? Is this not right? Like have like a sort of a gut reaction to it can help you discern as well. I like to keep this list to about 10, 15 words. I'm not super, I wouldn't say I'm like, I don't think it's a problem for you to have a long list of attributes. It is nice when you can be a little bit more direct and clear. But if some words that feel like your brand but aren't totally quite right for you, and don't make the cut, I also then put them in like a parking lot zone, because you can use some of that language, as secondary language in additional copy and other places where you need words, which in branding, you need a lot of words. Having a business, you need a lot of words. So it's kind of nice to start curating and capturing language that feels appropriate for you. What else would I say? So yeah, basically you're going to get into the energy of how you want your clients to feel, experience what you want them to experience or receive from your work, or receive from, say again, if you have a physical yoga studio, what do you want them to receive when they walk in there? How do you want them to feel when they walk in there? Do you want them to feel like they think they're going to get like a really good workout? Do you want them to feel like they are immediately feeling expansiveness and at home? Like those two things could exist together. They also could be very separate. So start to curate those kinds of things. Tune into that. How do you want to feel in your work with clients, or in your exchange with customers, or a community, or whatever it is that you're building? So some of us are more energetically primed to engage one-on-one with people. Some people are more primed to kind of like have some space and some distance between the level of consumption. So just think about how you want to feel in your exchange with clients or consumers, or again, if you're making product, like how you want yourself to feel when you are engaging with customers. Again, how would they describe your offerings to other people? Then like, what do you deeply desire to give to them? This gets into like your mission, vision, values. I'm actually not going into that in terms of your brand, because I think all of that intuitively, naturally gets infused into your work. And I come from the corporate space where some of that language just makes my eyes roll. So instead of doing that to you, I like to look at it this way, almost as like your brand attributes get to be intentions that you're setting, intentions that you're setting, language that you're casting out to the world, almost like creating, just a lot of, what's the right word? Again, thinking about language. I keep having the phrase spell casting, kind of like casting your spell to who you want to connect with you and how you want people to feel, but really just like setting the intention, for your work and for people's engagement with your work. Let's see. Another way to kind of like get into this a little bit more from, just like another angle is if your brand or your business lived within a store or a set of stores, kind of where would you find it? And what kind of language describes that space, that store? So for example, does your brand fit into like an Anthropologie, or does it fit into a West Elm? Those two stores, hopefully you know what both of those stores are. If not, give it a quick Google, but they have a very different vibe. Is it a mix of the both? What kind of language would you use to attribute to Anthropologie versus West Elm? Creating an attributes list is really, really helpful in, again, being able to select imagery and say, oh, this actually doesn't fit what I'm going for, but I thought it did initially when I was like casting my net really wide, essentially. So it helps us like refine. I think it's also helpful to create an is not list. So you have like what your attributes are and then what your brand isn't about. So again, if we're doing that Anthropologie West Elm thing, say you're leaning into Anthropologie, and so your brand is more free and flowy and bohemian. Again, I'm just using language that describes fashion because it's supernatural to me. Or I guess West Elm isn't fashion, but you know what I mean. And then West Elm would be modern, structured, even neutral with pops of color rather than eclectic. So that kind of gives you like the boundaries of what isn't you and what is you. Cool. So that's just day 2. So hopefully this feels really digestible and, just adds more, I don't want to call it fodder, but kind of helps you to create more discernment around how your brand is going to come to life through you. So for tomorrow, we'll talk about brand pillars and how to start like noticing how to bring some clarity around your brand pillars and what you use them for, and what I use them for, and then we'll go on from there. So I hope you have a beautiful day and I hope this is helpful. Please let me know. Shoot me a note and good luck.